New York Jets had a chance to win their first game of the season and came up short against Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. Yes, they lost Mike Evans early in the fourth quarter. Would that have made a difference? Not really. I don't think it would have made a huge difference. I think the Jets played the perfect defensive side of game in the fourth quarter. And I'll say this about the Jets now that I didn't see from the other Jets. They didn't quit. This isn't the Robert Saleh Jets. This isn't the Todd Bowles Jets. This is a different Jet team. You can see the enthusiasm the New York Jets, the young players have on the sidelines. Even losing the game, Aaron Glenn clapping off the field when he's running to shake Todd Bowles' hand. And we've heard Aaron Glenn say, there's no second place winners. There's no moral win if you lose. But he was excited by the Jets' athletic gift that they have in Will McDonald. And he is a gift. We'll see how this ends up, and we'll see if Will McDonald stays healthy and he has over 10 sacks this year. This guy's going to get paid. He's going to get paid a lot of money because this guy is just a special player. You can see it, how gifted this kid could be for the New York Jets. But here's the problem with the New York Jets. What I've seen in the first 3 weeks, the defensive line, you added Phillips. You had all these guys in the offseason before the season started. You have the guys like Quinnen Williams. You have gifted guys, Jermaine Johnson, a first-round talent. You have how many first-round picks on that line? And for some reason, throughout the game, this defense just doesn't show up. They don't make the big play. And that secondary has been absolutely horrible. Sauce Gardner, who got paid a lot of money, is not looking like a number one corner. I don't care what people are saying on PFF and what his ratings are on PFF. In the big part of the game, when you're defending a Mecca Egbuka, okay, and he's special. He's going to be a good wide receiver. He's going to be a good optional piece when Mike Evans decides to, tail away in his career and retire. This guy's going to be a special player. They found a good one. But to say that this guy is going to outplay one of the top 3 corners in the league and outrun him and outroute him, that was embarrassing. It was embarrassing for Sauce Gardner. And this guy, the defense that they have, Stevens has been horrible. Michael Carter got paid a lot of money. He's been horrible. The secondary, as far as the safety play, has been horrible. Baker Mayfield looked like he could do whatever he wanted in certain parts of the game. His numbers didn't stand out. He didn't have ridiculous numbers in the game. But when he needed to make a play, he made the play. And I'm sorry for Jet fans out there that think, hey, you know what? We stayed in the game. We came back in the fourth quarter. To me, there's no moral victories for the New York Jets. They lost. And I'm going to say something to Baker. I love Baker Mayfield. He's my favorite player. Baker Mayfield's a guy that I root for. And I respect everything about him, his enthusiasm, his support of his players. But after the game, when you go up and you speak to the media, and I understand you don't like Steve Wilks, but to come out and take a shot at the fact that he's the defensive coordinator and the Jets choked at the end of the game and it was a victory for him. He was so excited. Out of all the victories, so far they're 3-0. And he said this was the happiest he's been all season long, knocking off Steve Wilks and the New York Jets. This isn't the Jets' fault that Steve Wilks didn't like you over there in Carolina. That's not the Jets' fault that you and Steve Wilks didn't get along over there and why you weren't a Carolina Panther. Why they decided to go with Sam Darnold and you. I remember that. That's not the Jets' fault. And Baker going out there, just being who Baker Mayfield is. He speaks his piece. I love that about him. But to do it the way he did it, I just think he should have held back. Maybe do another interview at a podcast and say what he felt. To go to the media after the game and take a shot at the New York Jets and pretty much saying that the Jets choked and I took the ball down the field and the New York Jets are a joke of an organization. He didn't say it in those words, but in many ways, he put it that way. It
felt like that.
Yeah. It's not the Jets' fault that him and Steve Wilks didn't get along. So I didn't like that by Baker. But nevertheless, Baker Mayfield had a lot to cheer about. This is a good team. The Buccaneers are a very good team. A Super Bowl contender, if Mike Evans comes back and he's healthy, and they still have, what's his name going to come back?
Godwin.
Godwin's going to come back. When Godwin comes back and you have Egbuka, and you have the running game that you have with Bucky Irving. So when Godwin comes back, how good could this offense be with the defense the way they play? They play very aggressive at the front, and they're even more aggressive when it comes to their corner play. They love to blitz the corners. You see the difference what Todd Bowles likes to do. He's a blitz-savvy type of coach. You see it. And I remember him with the New York Jets. He loved the blitz. This is a good Buccaneers team. I can't take that away from them. It's the New York Jets. This is a young team. They're going to make mistakes. The offensive line, besides a couple of the sacks, the bad sacks that I had in the first half, this offensive line held up. This is a good offensive line. Membu looked good. Fashanu looked good. They have a good future when it comes to the offensive line. It's crazy to say that. For years, the Jets have been trying to build this line, and they couldn't put it together with Joe Douglas, who's really an offensive line alignment. It didn't work with him. You bring in a new GM, and then Joe Douglas did draft Fashanu, but then he brings in Membu, and Membu's been, as far as PFF is concerned, one of the top right tackles in the NFL for the last 3 weeks. The Jets have something there. But the defense, the problem here is what the defense is. Steve Wilks came to this team. Aaron Glenn came to this team, and I just don't think a lot of these defensive players fit the way they want to run their defense. In the offseason, I'm going to tell you that Jermaine Johnson will not be here because he doesn't fit the way the Jets want to run that defense. And Will McDonald is definitely going to be used in many different ways. I could see that. He put on some weight. You could see what he can do athletically. Quinnen Williams is a question. It's a question mark. He looked good in the first week and a half. And I say week and a half because last week in the second half, he did not look good. And if Quinnen Williams doesn't show up quarter by quarter and play as hard as he could play and be one of the best defensive linemen in the league as we expect him to be because he's getting paid like one, well, then the Jets don't really have a good defense because the secondary is horrible. Everybody could throw against this team. The Jets have not given up less than 27 points in a game this year. They're giving teams 30 or more points to win games. You can't win like that when you're the New York Jets, when you have Justin Fields as your starting quarterback, a running mobile quarterback. You're not winning like that. And that's the problem right now. This is not Aaron Rodgers' New York Jets. And it didn't even matter if it was Aaron Rodgers. I don't think the Jets are winning if you're giving teams 30 points or more. This wasn't an embarrassment, but the first half was just as embarrassing as the first two games. And especially letting the Pittsburgh Steelers come back. The Jets really should be 1-2 going into next week against Miami where they could be 2-2. But instead, they're 0-3, and if they lose next week, 0-3 teams do not make the playoffs. It's very rare. 0-4 teams likely never make the playoffs. I'm not saying the Jets were making the playoffs. I'm just saying that if any Jet fan thought that this team was going to be a playoff contender, you could kiss that goodbye after next week if they can't beat Miami in Miami. This is a Jet team that's going to have to figure things out in the offseason. Breece Hall is not the guy. He had a good first game, but ever since the first game, Breece Hall has been not good. Teams have figured him out. Braelon Allen, who I thought was going to be a good option for the number one running back in the future for this team, I don't know if he is. He's been looking like a number two than a number one. He's gotten chances to touch the ball at least 16 to 20 times every single game, and he hasn't put up the numbers we expected him to put up. This is not a good offense. And Garrett Wilson is getting his looks. He's getting his 10 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown. If that's your option, and you have no other option offensively, how are you expected to win? Your defense is going to have to block field goals or block kicks and punts for this team to be in position that they can run the ball in, or maybe Justin Fields can run the ball in. Because to be honest, right now, with Justin Fields not playing, they don't have that second-tier option when it comes to scoring. Because it's not going to be Breece Hall. It's not Braelon Allen. The tight ends that we have, good, but they're not great. And I don't expect Taylor to pick up his game and the pace of his game until probably either next year or the year after, because tight ends, it takes 3 years for him for them to develop. I don't think they have a second option. So if teams figure it out, and I'm telling you what the Broncos are going to do, they're going to stick Patrick Surtain in 2 weeks from now on Garrett Wilson, shut Garrett Wilson down, and there's going to be no optional offensive players unless Justin Fields plays and runs all over him. Or Breece Hall shows up. Breece Hall is going to have to show up. This running game is going to have to show up. My problem right now with the New York Jets isn't the fact that they're trying. They look like they're playing for the coach. The problem is they don't have enough to win when they come down to the nitty and the gritty when it comes to these games. Baker Mayfield knew with 1 minute and 50 seconds or 45 seconds left with 2 timeouts, he's going to be able to take the ball down so they can kick a field goal. And they did it with ease. Sauce Gardner was overpaid in the offseason. Until he shows up in one game when he dominates, to me, he's one of the most overpriced corners in the NFL.